So I'm really excited to show you one of our latest new features, which is direct API access to Datagrid. And so the first thing you're going to do is head over to developers.datagrid.com, and you'll be presented with this quick start screen that you see in front of me. The first thing I'm going to do here is go get my API key. So that's going to take me over to my Datagrid account, the settings, and specifically where I create API keys. And I'm going to create one here for development. This way I can track what I'm going to use it for, and it can be distinct from the key that I will use for bringing my API into staging or production. Following the quick start, we're going to export that key. So you see me doing that in the terminal over here on the left-hand side. And now that the key has been set up, we're going to install the SDK. That's pretty straightforward to do. If you're familiar with Python, it's pip install, and you're going to see at the end that it's been successful and we're ready to go. One of the first things you'll see me do is just check which Python version I'm using. This is a bit of a habit of mine, just to validate that when I go into VS Code, that the Python's version aligns. So now we go open VS Code into an empty directory. At this point, all we've done is install the SDK. And so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger and more comfortable for myself. But then I'm going to create a new file, datagrid.py. And this is where I'm going to put in the code samples that we found on the quick start page. So let's head over there, grab that code, and just paste it into the text editor. At this point, actually, we're ready to run. Everything should just work. But before we get going, I'm just going to switch the agent model to MagPoint 1.1, our latest and greatest model that incorporates a memory, which is going to be useful down the road for some of the future examples. You'll see the code editor is kind of helping me autocomplete. It's because the SDK contains all the types and all the options that you can leverage. We're ready to go, so I'm just going to use the basic run debug command. And that's it. The code is running. We'll put in a little breakpoint so that we can examine the output. But as you'll notice, we are just sending a small hello world to the agent, and the agent is responding with, "Hi, Dove." And this is because the agent knows me, it knows its context, and it's able to leverage that when responding to prompts. That's it. That's all it takes to get started with the Datagrid SDK. But some other small things that I'll show you before we get off is one, if you have some trouble, you might want to do that validation now that the Python version is consistent with the one that we found earlier. So you can do that in the bottom right-hand side. And here I can set the Python that VS Code is using, and I set it to use the exact same one as my system here. The other thing that we might want to do is set ourselves up for success for future runs of this code. And what I mean by that is we're going to take that SDK key that we got earlier, and we're just going to put this into our debug run environment so that it's going to be leveraged every time we run the code in debug. That's really all there is. So have fun, build great stuff, and see you later.